Yon. And we are live. What's up mga paps? It's been a while. It's been a while since last time nag-live. Let's just wait for DMAC to join us. Again, this is your NBA Fantasy Papi, Papi Roy in the house. Welcome to the Fantasy Basketball PH. Uh, Nalilito ako dahil ngayon ko lang ulit ginamit yung playback. Pero let's start using this. Tomorrow, ito din ulit gamitin natin sa live Q&A natin. Okay, so chinut ko lang si Papi DMAC and is going to jump into our live discussion and Q&A. Shout out dun sa mga andito ngayon sa playback. There you go. I'm gonna invite DMAC in the house. What's up, DMAC? Can you hear us?
Hey, bro. How are you?
Doing great. How about you?
Good, man. Good. Now, let's see.
How's the grind?
Hey, bro. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, it's been good. I was on Kingy show earlier. Now, glad to be here as well.
Yeah, so you're a little bit busy for today.
Yeah, and I've actually got some work to do as well after this. So yeah, busy night tonight.
What about the real life fantasy playoffs?
Yeah. What a grind.
Yeah. So how was your how's your teams?
Still two teams still eligible, so looking like I'll be in the playoffs in my keeper league, which is great. Well, definitely be in the playoffs. So I'm just vying for a positioning now. So quite strategic. I'm playing the guy that's coming first. He's been a bit cheeky because it looks like he wants to avoid me, and I want to avoid him. So it looks like he's tanking so that I can get either second or third, which is interesting. I don't think that's cheating. It's just quite strategic. But yeah, pretty good. And in the other one, got the bye in the first round of the playoffs, which is good. So hopefully doing well next week. So setting myself up for next week.
There you go. Well, that's good news for you. For me, out of 17 leagues, I'm now down to 9. So I lost a couple of leagues. I actually played race to 8 last week for 4 of those. All of 4, I lost all of 4. Those leagues were leagues where I had either Lamelo or Embiid and Scotty
Yep.
Barnes, so stuff.
Yeah.
I,
I was
almost
eliminated
there.
from the Locked On Fantasy Bar. I was eliminated in the first round of playoffs last week, but Embiid sitting, Bane sitting, although it's interesting that Bane could be coming back later this week, which is crazy. Mark Williams as well. So it's been a pretty torrid affair in that league, but I did okay still to make the first round of playoffs and just missed out just by a couple of stats there. So not too bad, seeming that I did get
Yeah,
smashed.
same thing. I was actually excited. Initially, I thought that this is a lost cause, but then like midweek, there was hope. To be
Yeah,
honest, everyone that I actually added really worked well. Thing is, my opponent's team is better. That's it happens. So I'm
it
happy with
does
that.
happen. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I had to stream like crazy just to be competitive in the Locked On
exactly.
Fantasy Bowl. And we got there, first round of playoffs, and just missed out. So, yeah, streaming is a wonderful thing, even if you lose a lot of your top guns.
And when I'm looking at those teams that I lost last week, it could have kind of like devastated some teams if I won that week. Because a lot of almost 50% of my teams there were streaming. The all like 4 Memphis Grizzly
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it happens. It happens. uh, DMAC, there's a lot of things happening nowadays, and most of them are injury related. So we've talked about a couple of tapes already. I think Joel Embiid is the at least for us because we both own Joel Embiid. That's the biggest um, loss that we had. But aside from that, who do you think, in your experience lately, was kind of like, if he could have played, it would have been different. Aside from Joel Embiid,
Yeah, a lot of good examples. A lot of guys that have gone down, actually. So, yeah, um, just my own experience. I had some shares of Kristaps Porzingis, so he's been out recently, but he's been having a great year. I mentioned Desmond Bain, Mark Williams. I had in a couple of leagues. I did happen to trade him in my keeper league. It was for a guy that wasn't contending this season, so I was able to get some good return on that one just because of the upside in the future. Although, having said that, there could be some question marks over his health longer term. This is Mark Williams I speak of. Who else? Top guys. They're the ones. I've actually been pretty relatively okay in my main keeper league. At the moment, I'm dealing with Jalen Johnson, not too bad. He's missed a couple of games, but again, hasn't been all that horrific, to
played
be
back to
honest.
back as well after the
Yeah,
injury.
playing. Yeah, I mentioned on Kingy show as well. I think he's going to get to that 65 game threshold, win that Rookie of the Year, and then I think Pop's going to look to maybe just ease off a little bit.
Let's go, Wemby.
Yeah.
I love shout out to the ones that are watching live. So I have here, I forget his real name, but I know he's a mainstay here. Rashawn Domingo saying Sengun. Yeah, it really hurt me. In my keeper league, I was super excited because I have my super combo Jokic and Sengun leading my team, and then I'm sitting in first. I was thinking, oh, this is going to be easy the next round. Then Sengun was injured. Also owned Kobe White in that specific team, and he got injured earlier.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was tough for me losing Sengun. So that's definitely one of those players that kind of like killed me. Well,
Did you have
not
any shares of Lamelo? I had one share that was
oh
in the FBI World Cup, which I was eliminated in the first round as well. But yeah, Lamelo, Trey Young as well. So that
Trae Young.
was tough. That was
Two.
tough going there.
I got 2 shares of Lamelo and I think 3 shares of Trae Young, because those two guards weren't, in the I remember during the draft week a couple of months ago, like the first few weeks, they were falling up to second to third round, and I have to really
Yeah,
get
yeah,
them if even though we all know Lamelo could get hurt, but it had we didn't expect he will get hurt this season because
yeah,
there's no real concrete evidence that he's really injury prone. Maybe now, maybe now I'm beginning to
yeah.
believe, but yeah, but
He's going to
again,
slip. He's going to slip hard in next season's draft. I think you'll easily find him in the third round. I think people are just going off him big time. Perhaps even the fourth round.
how about non-related, not injury-related cases? Like for me, in one of my keeper leagues, though I also have Embiid there. I also have Zach Levine there. So there's a lot of things that happen to my team. But Tyrese Halliburton isn't really playing like the top five guy we were expecting him to provide for the rest of the season. So I guess that's also one player that kind of like really in a sense, I was expecting for him to push me to the playoffs, but wasn't there when it counted.
Yeah, I've got him in my keeper league. I still have hope. He's looking a lot better. He hasn't gone to the heights that he was at the start of the season since the injury, but he has come back and he's looking a lot better quite recently. Played overtime overnight. He's looking okay. I think if you're still in the playoffs, don't worry. He's got you back.
For sure. And especially now that for some reason, despite I can't say gruesome, but that bad experience that Kobe White had with Pascal Siakam, I can see some fire from the Indiana Pacers. Maybe almost all the teams we're getting a feel of the playoffs berth, I guess. So it's good for fantasy. It's going to be good for us watching the games and expecting better things to happen. Just giving a shout out to the ones that are actually watching us here in Playback. Shout out to Playback. If you want to join us personally, you can actually jump in and co-host with us. So just let us
Yeah.
know. You can actually ask questions live. You can ask DMAC your own questions live. If you want to turn on your video, totally fine. If you don't want to turn it on, totally fine. So I have a couple of questions here already before we move back to our discussion. So shout out to Renzi. Good evening, Renzi. Isaiah underscore 35. Thoughts on Bruce Brown? Picked him last week. DMAC, what's your first take on this?
Yeah, he's looking a lot better, but Toronto are dealing with some injuries. Gary Trent Jr. has also missed the last couple, I believe. So Bruce Brown's just playing a little bit more. Look, play him while he's hot. I don't expect it to continue, though.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, the what just because of the direction that Toronto is kind of like doing right now, it seems like if you're a little bit hurt, even though it's not like really hurt, then they don't have an incentive to actually play players. It was also it's already evident in the past couple of games. So I'm expecting like the Garrett Trent Juniors, even Emmanuel Quickly to possibly sit down alternately down the road. So it means instead of Brown, we're going Dick. So we have what we call in the Filipino, ipasok si Dick sa Senado. Because we have named Dick Gordon. Shout out to Dick Gordon. Shout out ko pa dito. That is, who candidated as a senator and even president before. And it was fun because of the pun of that kind of like quote. So now we're calling out to Dick to actually come up straight to the playoff. So help us, Dick. Even we're expecting him to just score points, not so good percentages, some threes. But in the past game, he actually gave us some dimes. So again, it's promising, but just take note. There's a lot of players who weren't able to play on that game. So it's just like a glimpse on what's gonna happen if eventually Toronto just play everyone that we actually didn't saw playing in the regular season. So yeah, I'm not that excited for Bruce Brown. There's a lot of other free agent that we could actually stream.
So you're more excited about Dick, Roy? Is that what you're saying?
There were
I'm being cheeky, by the way. I'm being cheeky. You're getting excited by
well,
Dick. Never thought I'd ever say that.
well. Sometimes I'm excited with Dick if I own it. I have a couple of Dicks that I own, and he went big last last game. So that's the reason why we kind of like keep sharing that. Hey, if other backer players from the Toronto didn't play well, go get some Dicks.
Just a bag of.
Okay, so Press Leonardo, good evening, bro. Who to drop? He needs to activate J Dub. Uh, would you drop Michic or Cam Thomas?
It really depends on your schedule. Michic has a horrible schedule next week, so 2 games for the Hornets next week. So if you're looking towards next week, you're safely through to the next round. Perhaps you drop Michic, but if you're vying for a spot into the next round, Michic is going to be of value this week. So I like Michic over Cam Thomas right now, but I've just never been that excited by Cam Thomas. And those that do watch my show, I'm constantly poo-pooing Cam Thomas. Look, he's had value on occasions throughout the season, but Michic just is looking pretty good right now. Really nice.
Yeah, so a good point by DMAC wherein you have to kind of like really assess your position right now, because we are at the point wherein if you really think you can win this game, then I'd possibly lean on Cam Thomas just because of the schedule that the Charlotte Hornets have. So that's one angle. The next angle would be if it's close. If this week is close for you, then I definitely agree with DMAC here. Mitic is the go-to player here. But another thing would be Cam Thomas. I think Brooklyn Nets is going to play back-to-back to end the week, right? I think, as far as I remember. So I don't know, because in the Philippines there's something that we call panghilot, wherein it's more of like one last run for adjustment. So sometimes we needed that. Instead of like doing or doing or moving a lot of things, we save one last ad or one last move just in the last couple of games, just to ensure that you're actually doing the right thing, especially in a head to head. If it's the right category that you need to pump, if it's the right schedule that you want to ride on. I've kind of like shared several perspective there. We don't know more information about it, but as of the moment, I'm going with Michich as well. Um, he's there saying here, good thing I pick up Olenek to
Oh
compensate
yeah,
Singun's injury. Yeah,
yeah, big time.
Olenek is bringing the house down.
Yeah,
The
huge game today.
what's his nickname? The kitchen lady. Sorry, something lady. That's his nickname. It's like lunch lady. There you go. Code Gem. Shout out to you. Is the lunch lady is bringing home lunch. Hopefully, he can actually. To be honest, because John T. Porter was mentioned here by Renzi. Shout out to you. John T. Porter is actually interesting because he's been providing decent value even in twenties, right? So I can see that happening like consistently just because of the lack of front court for the Toronto Raptors. So Jakob Poeltl is down, the Waterboy is down. So I'm pretty sure he's gonna get that consistently. Thing is, Olenek is Olenek. He's already providing us value. But just in case, this is just like a hunch, just in case he rests some games down the road, I can see some upside for John T. Porter. So watch out for John T. Porter, especially to those GMs with leagues that your playoffs are gonna be way down the road because majority of my playoffs started already like last week or this week. So by a couple of weeks, we're done. But for those GMs that is utilizing the whole season, watch out for Jonte because I'm gonna be surprised if the lunch lady is gonna play the whole time rest of the season. Code Keps is saying there are two Bibles I like: Black Bible anime and NBA Fantasy Bible. So we have a fan
Yeah,
here.
love it, love it. Thank you.
uh, Cholaman, who to draft? No, not draft, drop. Who to drop? Nesmith or Kessler? 14 team 9 cat.
Yeah. What do you need? That's always when it comes down to categories. It's what do you need. So you know what Kessler brings: blocks, rebounds, high field goal. Naismith has been a little bit inconsistent, and you'd think that he would be the pickup just because Benedict Matherin's out for the season. So I would still. Oh, that is a tough one. Look, overall value, I still believe in Kessler, but I would understand either way if you just needed more of Naismith's scoring punch, some threes as well, some sneaky steals. I would get it. But yeah, I like Kessler. He's just had one of those seasons that hasn't really lived up to his billing.
Yeah, so I'm gonna make your brain cells. Uh, I'm gonna challenge your brain cells a little bit. I might go with Nesmith here, just with the angle of the upcoming schedule next week. So both teams, Indiana and Utah Jazz has 4 games, but Utah Jazz has 2 back-to-backs. Um, I think you have to consider Tyler Hendricks being a full participant already. And given that in the middle of that week, Utah just has a back-to-back game with OKC and Dallas. So it means just by number games, Kessler could sit, maybe could sit in one of those games. So Nesmith wins 4 games over Kessler's 3 games, maybe. Plus Kendrick being present might, I don't know, because Utah Jazz is just weird, right? Because it seems like they're almost letting the kids play, but whenever their vets are available, they're giving them much time. And Laurie Markkanen also is already shooting. It is also participating in the shoot around. So I'm not sure if Laurie Markkanen is going to play this week, probably next week. So taking that in consideration, I'm just seeing more upside with Netsmith than Kessler, especially if, again, category wise, if you don't need much blocks, then Nesmith could be there because he's trending up. We haven't seen the rebounds, we haven't seen much snipes and swipes yet, but it's getting there. So I'm kind of like want to ride that direction. So I'm going with Nesmith here. Okay. By the way, guys, anyone who wants to jump in, let's try this out. Um, just let us know, and I'm gonna send you an invite so you can actually co-host with us instead of us just reading your comments or questions and answering it. Code Kevs is asking or is telling Michael Porter Jr. and John T. Porter are brothers. Is Otto Porter their uncle? It's their retired uncle, I guess.
Yeah. Well, their cousins, what are they? Craig Porter or Kevin Porter. Oh, I can't say
Yeah,
Kevin Porter anymore. But yeah, he's still around.
Kevin Porter is the black sheep of the family.
Not big time.
Oh, by the way, shout out to Otto Porter. I remember a couple of seasons ago, he was like, what, third round value? Just
Mm.
because he doesn't do a lot of negative things. The
Yeah.
one weird value there.
Yeah. The good old days with John Wall as well.
Yeah. There's another one here planning to drop Aldama because of his unpredictable injury. Of the unpredictable injuries, of course, for the Memphis Grizzlies. Who should I pick? La Ravia, Banton, and AW, Jack Landale. This is a points league, and our playoff starts next week.
Yeah, Laravia is playing mid-20s, but he's looking okay. He's probably someone that you can trust on the Memphis Grizzlies. But with someone like Desmond Bain, questionable, likely to be questionable for the next game, and he may pop up and play 1 or 2 games down the stretch, that probably takes away some of his value. But again, there's just so much unpredictability with the Grizzlies. I almost just want to stay away. Even my boy Vince Williams, he's just missed the last couple. I don't know what's going to happen there. So I may even look elsewhere. Nickeil Alexander-Walker's looked really nice the last couple, obviously with Cat out for the rest of the fantasy season anyway. He's looked all right, but a lot of that's hinging on really good shooting. It's likely to be unsustainable. So just be mindful there. Landale's got a role, but of course, he's not going to play huge minutes as well. So again, if this is a category league, it may actually come down to what you need. Banson's value is quite dependent on, I'm going to not just say Scoot Henderson, which would be the obvious thing, but it would be Jeremy Grant. Jeremy missed today's game. Banton started ahead of Scoot, which was a surprise in itself, but he still played a decent amount of minutes. I'm thinking that Portland are going to just completely tank, and Banton's going to have tremendous value come the rest of the season. That's given that some of these guys do sit out the rest of the season as well. But who knows what's going to happen again if you are just battling for the W this week, trying to get into the next round or trying to get into the playoffs in the first place. Maybe look away from Banton just for now, unless we do hear that Jeremy Grant remains out. So I didn't really give you a clear answer, but like I often say on your show, Roy, it does depend on what you need.
Yeah. By the way, this one is for points league.
This is points.
Yeah,
Ah,
for points
okay.
league.
Well, I'm going to go Nickeil Alexander-Walker. They've got, let's have a look. Next week, Minnesota, 4 games next week. I don't expect that he sits the back-to-back Monday, Tuesday. And then they've got a game on there's a few days in between, so the Friday and Sunday. So you could look to stream in the first 2 games, which is great. And then come the end of the week, it's also solid.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. Just because of again, I totally believe this is. I mean, all of the players that you mentioned for me are actually just streamers. Maybe if we see Landale stick with a more sensible role, because it's just a matter of like there's a lot of missing pieces in the front court. So if we see more of that, then maybe him. But since this is choice of streaming, I did rather have NAW just because Anthony Edwards has been almost injured, knock on the wood, for several times, and haven't sat, right? So Minnesota starting back to back next week. Maybe there's a chance there, but still, even though he doesn't sit, it's still 2 games back to back. So getting number of games ahead without using your drops during that week is definitely an advantage. So I take that. So you might go that way, utilizing the back to back of Minnesota Timberwolves, and then dropping NAW to stream someone from a lot of things, a lot of teams for Wednesday next week because there's 8 games on that day. So yeah, that's possibly a good strategy. And I also totally agree that Santi Aldama has been underwhelming. I was expecting him to almost kind of like be the backup of Triple J. That's my vision. I mean, I was thinking whenever Triple J is out, Santi Aldama could actually deliver, but he's been underwhelming just because of the minutes that he's getting. So I guess the Memphis Grizzlies saw uh, what Aldama can do already, so they're trying to bring Gigi Jackson and let him play more. And you also have the likes of Laravia to play more. So that's my thoughts on that. Code Kevs, Memphis is not Grizzlies anymore. They're called Memphis Questionables. if if you're following the Memphis Grizzlies updates, better play DFS. Shout out to the DFS players because you'll definitely need to wait for the last minute to ensure that the player or the Memphis Grizzlies that you're adding is gonna play. Then again, even though they play, you're not sure if they're gonna play how many minutes during that game. So totally agree with this. It's kind of like a roll the dice move when you're adding a Memphis Grizzly. Chairman Yakis, very nice name. Who's the pickup of for next week? Larry Nance or Wiseman? 9 cat 16 team. I need stocks and rebounds while punting, free throws, percentages, and turnovers. Wow.
Yeah. I know Wiseman's been getting some nice minutes there, but also, yeah, it's a bit unpredictable. So I like Nance, but surely this is for a deeper league. It's got to be some nicer value here. What does it give any detail?
Um,
16 team.
16
Okay,
team.
that is a deep league. Look, I'd probably lean on Nance. I think Valanciunas has been quite underwhelming, hasn't he? But yeah, I could see some value. I can see some value with James Wiseman. I just don't trust it right now. So I'm going to go Nance just for a little bit more of a safer pick there.
In terms of schedule, both players and both teams, their respective teams, has 4 games. It's a tie. New Orleans Pelicans has a better projected schedule second half of the week next week, while the Detroit Pistons is playing skip counting. So they're gonna play the first day, not gonna play the second day, then gonna play the next one. So it's totally spread out. So maybe in the back-to-back game of New Orleans Pelicans, there could be someone sitting there, especially against Orlando. Maybe Zion sits there. So gotta boost Nance's value. Maybe it doesn't happen always, but that's a good incentive.
We
But
often
yeah,
see Nance plays better alongside of Zion, and then Valanciunas gets pushed out just because of the fit of the team. I was just going to say with Wiseman, I guess just be mindful that I know they don't play the same position, but Asar Thompson is out at the moment as well. So if he comes back, he does return, and that may change things a little bit for James Wiseman as well.
yeah, and I think we also have to consider that he might end up not keeping either Nance or Wiseman for the whole week. Maybe he's gonna use this as stream slot. So if that's the case, the first 3 days Detroit has 2 games. New Orleans Pelicans only has one. So, just a thought to ponder if that's your strategy, because that's 2 games versus one. So, if it's your streaming slot, I doubt that you won't add anyone and just use that one for the whole week, right? So, I guess it's also about you also have to consider the number of games. Sometimes it's that way. Instead, we're not over analyzing what they can do or the specific stats. It's more of like a number of games. So, we don't know a lot of specifics here, Chairman Yakis, but I hope that helped. Cholo Man, confused who to pick, John Day Porter or Bilal?
Oh, Bilal. I prefer Bilal. I think he's just got that nice real role and steady, consistent minutes as well. So, yeah, Bilal for me.
Yeah, he's coming. He's been getting a lot of minutes. I've been saying this. The minutes are there. Usage isn't, but he's getting a little bit more usage in the past couple of games. So I'm expecting him to really provide some value down the road.
And the good thing
Uh,
about Bilal, as we all know, is a lot of his game's not predicated on usage as well. So there's a lot of other things that he adds to, particularly in the category league. So those stocks that you're often difficult to find on the wire.
exactly. Renzi and Code Kevs is also saying should be they think it's Bilal.
Okay.
Code Kevs, I'm worried about Kobe White. So sad. Well, silver lining is there was a reporter saying that he was smiling and laughing with his teammates. Not necessarily mean he's actually okay, but let's just wait for more updates. But hopefully it's nothing bad.
That could be a good sign, but also that's Kobe White for you. I know that he's a very nice, by all accounts, very nice, sort of good presence in the locker room, really good teammate as well. Though, so that could just be him, irrespective of the status of the injury. But yeah, let's hope it's not a long term thing.
Renzi, any thoughts of Washington's new signing, Tristan Vukcevic?
Yeah, I spoke about him earlier with Adam King. I think it's real. Just an insurance policy. I know that at the moment they're missing Bagley, they're missing Rashawn Holmes. Rashawn Holmes could return pretty soon, so I really do think it's a backup. But um, yeah, I unless it's completely real deep league sort of stuff, I wouldn't be racing to add him right now.
Yeah. Well, just in case down the road he gets the playing time that we expect him to hopefully get, what I see with Vucevic, the other Vucevic, he seems like more of in the same profile like Simon Fontecchio, a big, long forward that can actually shoot from the outside. Both European, so maybe there's some similarities. So that's what you get from him. There's a lot of players that people are actually looking at, like him. You have Kenny Lofton that we've seen everybody love because we've seen him get some goodies whenever he plays. But thing is, he played like just a really small amount of games for in NBA level, right? So I understand there are really GMs that are looking at these players, and I'm also expecting that some of these players is going to help us or them. Well, most of them because majority of our playoffs should be should end by the next 2 weeks. But in the last couple of weeks of the regular season, um, fine, sure, maybe those players could actually help you out. Um, Chairman Yakis, awesome insights. Definitely helps. The chairman is happy, but the Yakis is happier. A lot of big players are good, so we monitor. Papi Royvich. Nice, nice. So while we're waiting more on possible more questions here, DMAC, just want to talk about the implication of Luka Doncic injury earlier as well. So what do you think should be your move if you're a Luka owner?
It's a tough one. 2 games next week. Obviously, you don't drop him, but some potential streamers. Dante Exum, we saw that he had a lot of value earlier in the season. Kyrie missed a fair few games earlier in the season, and Dante stepped in nicely. Josh Green, Australian teammate as well. He could have some nice value as well. He often plays close to that 30-minute mark anyway, but perhaps it's just some extra usage that'll go around, which will help his value. PJ Washington as well, just get more shots up. Don't forget Tim Hardaway. So he was a clear drop
Yeah.
ever since trade deadline. He just wasn't putting up those numbers as well. And I think PJ Washington had a little bit to do with that. I think with Luka potentially sitting out, I'd say definitely in the next game, Tim Hardaway could be a nice stream there.
It's really a bad luck for Luka owners just because of the fact that Dallas won't play a lot of games next week. So it's really tough to be honest. If you're a Luka owner and you want to win this week, uh, I don't know. I hope you have an IL plus slot because that's gonna save you. If not, really tough call. But you have to do what you need to do if you wanted to win. If you're really in a place or in a situation where there's a stream available, and uh, you don't. I don't know. It's really hard because that's a lot of difference in terms of value. I mean, you can't pick a Luka Doncic stat anywhere. So think of that for a second. Again, but I also kind of like embrace or understand the situation if, in case you don't have also any choice. I mean, you have to drop Luka Doncic. So it's a tough decision. We hopefully we get more news, like more specific news on how many days he's not gonna play or when he's gonna play. But uh, tough blow for Luka
And
owners.
that's a key point. If we get a bit of a timeline, if he's going to miss just tomorrow's game but play Sunday, well, that's obviously you keep him and then you ride that 2 game week because his 2 game week is better than a lot of other players' 4 game weeks, right? So yeah, you keep him. But if it's going to be 3+ games and they've defined that and that's the timeline, then yeah, it's a hard move to make, but it's one that probably needs to be made.
Yeah, totally agree. How about any suggested pickups for the next 4 days? So we already have week 20 almost done. As of the moment, one noticeable unique schedule that I see is the three teams that will play 3 games out of 4 days
Yeah,
are the Phoenix Suns, the Washington Wizards, and
the Clippers.
the Clippers. But it's going to be tough to get good streaming out of those teams.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
you say
yeah,
that, you say that, but with the Clippers, I think there's a couple of opportunities. I think Kawhi is probably going to miss the next game. I would think. I haven't seen further updates. I would say that he may miss. So that would mean Norman Powell's a nice stream. Terrence
definitely
Mann has
Norman
an
Powell.
opportunity as well.
Yeah. If in case that's we're actually kind of like sure that Kawhi won't be playing, Norman Powell definitely there, but Amir Coffey should get some ads, especially deeper leagues, because
Yep.
uh, Amir Coffey is weird because there were games where his biggest defensive stats for some reason a lot of steals. Then there's some games just points, right? Thing is, he contributes. He's part of the rotation, especially when Westbrook is also out. So off the bench, he's gonna play. So you have to really consider him. For the Phoenix Suns, I don't know. Royce O'Neal was nice, but then again, they're almost complete. Now they're finally they're playing together. The big three for the Phoenix Suns. So
Do you
I'm
see
not
one of the big three
expecting.
sitting the next couple of days?
There's a back-to-back game. Yeah, I would. I think it's gonna be Bradley Beal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, could be Beal. It could be Booker. It could be Durant. Who knows? So I think Royce is a nice pickup there.
Another for me, one pickup that I would suggest that is that from those three teams is Tyler Hendricks. Back-to-back games for Friday and Saturday.
Hmm.
He was actually hot before he got injured. I was thinking if it's a full participant, it's nice to pick him now because he is tagged with injured status. So you can just put him on the IL slot if you have, for those who have IL plus, just an extra player that could whatever happens is there. So because whenever I see an opportunity to stream for a win, it's either I it's only three things. It's either it's because of the category is gonna bring me. Number two, it's because of the number of the games that he'll definitely provide. And then last one is upside. So I'm seeing some upside for Hendricks just in case he plays. So that's one.
And I guess particularly with Larry Markkinen, a few question marks about his longevity this season as well. So if he does remain out, I think Taylor Hendricks is an awesome pickup.
Plus, Utah Jazz has 4 games next week. So, not a bad. If eventually I'm wrong and he won't play, he's gonna stay there in your IL plus, and he has a 4 game next week. So, not a bad ad if you win.
That's the
That's
thing. Yeah, it always comes down to your situation.
it. Who else? Who else is a good pick in the next 4 game starting tomorrow? Uh, I'm thinking. Well, for me, I would add a Kyle Anderson on Saturday because Minnesota. I'm pretty sure he was dropped one way or another because Minnesota only has 2 games.
Yep.
So and they did play the last 3 days. So he could be available. So if you're confident that you will win this week, I'm gonna use an ad to get Kyle Anderson. So I have someone from the Minnesota Timberwolves to carry over next week. Watch 4 games and has definitely value without Carl Anthony Towns. So for me, that's a good ad.
And there's an opportunity, perhaps in your league as well. Maybe unlikely, but perhaps that Naz Reid was also dropped just because of the poor schedule this week. So
For
just keep an
sure.
eye on that as well.
For sure. Who else? Let's see. Look at the schedule. Uh, Code Gives daily dose of Amir caffeine.
Yeah.
Indiana Pacers. TJ McConnell has been playing well. Not that good in the past game, but he's been playing well. So shout out to TJ. TJ McCollum, as I call him. Huh. How about who else here? How about for the San Antonio Spurs?
Yeah, we saw Malachi Branham put up some decent value earlier in the week and some games last week as well, but he sort of dropped off, and that shooting was always unsustainable, and he was hot for some time as well. Devin Vassell, I know he missed 1 or 2 games, I believe. Puppy, I know you've got that information with you, but yeah, there's not a great deal of streaming value there, particularly if Wemby continues to play. You think of Zach Collins as the ultimate backup there, but while Wemby continues to play, he doesn't have value in a standard league. So it's a tough one, the Spurs.
Another team that oh, by the way, I remember Sensible from Utah Jazz. Uh, yeah, he's also a decent player. Was he able to play with Hendricks before? Yes,
I think
right.
it's Yeah, I think Sensabaugh got the start when Hendricks went down, though. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, particularly if, for whatever reason, Larry Markkinen does come back, just to see who does get the minutes there.
Yeah. For the Brooklyn Nets, back-to-back games to end the week, I think DFS is interesting. He might have
Yep.
been dropped, right? Two
Yep.
games, 2 days without games. So if you're available, you have more ads to end your week. Is a good option. Charlotte Hornets also has a back-to-back game on Friday and Saturday. Trey Man, I'm pretty sure he was dropped to start of the week,
Hmm.
so you can actually pick him. He already played almost 30 minutes right off the bat, so it seems is already healthy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just make sure that Vasily Micic is rostered as well. He had a
yeah.
monster game today, and he's looking awesome.
Bertans, on the other hand, 1 out of 10. if you stripped him, you actually lost the category just because of him.
Yeah,
It happens, you know. Shooter's gonna shoot.
that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
What about your man, Poku? Any value there?
Oh well, it's interesting that he's getting minutes, so I'm a little bit excited for him, but I'm not interested to actually add him
Yeah.
for now, especially with just two. He's just getting the minutes now, and then they're gonna play 2 games next week, so totally not a good situation. Maybe after that, if he gets more minutes, maybe take away some from Davis Bertans, but he's also like Davis Bertans. He's gonna get that 1 out of 10 shooting
Yeah.
very very soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, Isaiah underscore 35. Top 6 seed, maybe playoffs next week on my 20 teams. He has Hallie, Vooch, Poole, MPJ, Herbobi, Amen, Triple J, Miami, Walker the Fourth, Moritz, with last week. Thanks for Killian Hayes, help for assist. Oh, Isaiah's just sharing. So shout out to you. Congrats for hopefully being in your top 6. Uh, Again, if you have ads this week, plan ahead. So for you to be able to conserve your ads next week, try to add players that will have 4 games next week or will play on Monday. So you get an extra game for your playoffs.
What are you doing
Any
with Mičić? Just thinking of the poor schedule for the Hornets next week. What are you doing with Mičić? Are you holding for the Tuesday game and then looking to drop? Or are you
Yeah,
holding it all the way through?
I'd probably hold until Wednesday, until Tuesday, because Monday, since it's a day with 8 games. There's a good chance you have a lot of players already playing. There might be teams with all of their slots are full, so totally fine. It doesn't matter the schedule for the Charlotte Hornets. But on Tuesday, there's only 5 teams playing, so it's an advantage because there's a small amount of teams playing. So I'd take that. Then after that, I'd probably drop him. I just stream along next week. Um, yeah. So anything you want us to discuss, DMAC, that you think is relevant at least for
Yeah,
playoffs and at
something
least for this week?
something that's intriguing me is just I guess with Dallas, we spoke about Dallas as well, but the battle at center.
Oh,
Derek Lively and Dan Gafford as well. It's interesting. There's some value. They're putting up some value, and I know it's a lot more suited to category leagues just because we know that these guys have that value in category leagues. But they're splitting the minutes. There's slight advantage to Dan Gafford, but which way? How do you see this playing out? Are you holding both of them? Are you looking to drop come the end of this week? How are you playing that?
uh, for this week, of course, I'm gonna hold both of them, but both actually are decently coexisting with one another. Well, Dan Gafford is providing better value just because he doesn't miss, and of course, he's getting more blocks and more minutes. But Lively is also giving us decent big man value, decent amount of rebound, still blocks, still good percentages. Less minutes, but it doesn't matter because it's giving us that value. So I'm gonna hold them uh, for this week. For next week, let me check Dallas's. Well, similar to Mičić, I might hold both of them until Tuesday. If this is a quarter final for you, I might be interested to hold longer for Dan Gafford, just because if it's quarterfinals. If it's semis, it might be more. I don't know, depending on the matchup. If you really need, if you think you need more punch, in terms of streaming, I'm more confident to hold Gafford over Lively.
Yeah. Well, Dallas play the Tuesday and the Thursday, so perhaps you can reassess after that Thursday game as well. So I know 2 games in 4 days is not ideal, but it's still okay. And then no games in the last 3 days of the week. Perhaps that's where you make a move if you are desperate. And perhaps at that stage, after 4 days of the matchup, you can sort of see where it's going. So if you are desperate for that win, that's when you make the move.
And they're gonna go against 2 big teams, the San Antonio and the Utah Jazz. So they're
Yeah,
gonna
so
be
they'll need him
busy.
against Wemby. Yeah, and I guess to a lesser extent Utah, but I guess they can still play Walker Kessler. John Collins is playing a lot of minutes, and we just see that they've got a bit of depth there in the front court in Utah. But yeah, we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, I think Dan Gafford can be held at least until Thursday.
How about the other team with? Is there any other team with 2 games next week, or just the Dallas Mavericks? I think it's just Dallas, right?
It's Dallas and Charlotte next week.
Oh,
Yeah,
Dallas and Charlotte.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
forget
They're the
about
only two.
Charlotte.
Yeah,
Ooh, at least Charlotte, you can drop Mičić and then pick him up on Saturday.
yeah, exactly right, exactly right. And both of them have 4 games the following week if you make it
Yeah,
that far. But yeah, it's something to keep in mind.
exactly. Uh, for this week, it was tough for Minnesota and the Lakers. I think there's no way people would have dropped like the Anthony Edwards, the LeBrons, and the Davises. But other than that, like what you mentioned earlier, maybe not Nasrid was dropped. So yeah, we've talked about that to for you guys to pick up.
Yeah.
Any other hidden strategy that you kind of like do on your own that we can share to our followers during playoffs?
Yeah, I guess look for the Sunday, Monday back to back as well. If you're in a nice position where you can go, look, I'm going for the win, but I'm also looking ahead as well. Look at those Sunday, Monday back to backs. So there's quite a few. So look at those Atlanta, Sunday, Monday, Boston, Sunday, Monday. Boston, there's a bit of value there because depending on what happens with KP, Al Horford, we know, is always going to sit one of those two back to back. So in a deeper league, someone like even a Sam Hauser, um, Luke Cornett, perhaps even a deeper league in that situation. Just keep an eye on that. Who else? Sunday, Monday, we've got Detroit. So we spoke about the Detroit situation there. So there's some value. Miami as well. They're the teams that have that Sunday, Monday. So keep that in mind. Look at the schedule and play it wisely.
Yeah, and again, for me, it might be gruesome to do. It might be, not for everyone to do. But I personally just plat the whole week, me against my opponent, just to identify, aside from the number of games, also what specific stat he or me is in advantage of. So I know what player or what categories would I add, especially for head-to-head categories. Another thing that I do is, this one I'm gonna ask DMAX thought as well. So what if you're down with your one ad and you're choosing a player or players rather, and the issue there is one is gonna play 2 games, but he's just a decent player, not low upside, and there's the other one with a good opportunity to actually get some value. So do you get that one game with a little bit more upside, or 2 games with mere value?
That's always the tough one. I guess I look for opportunity because there's always that chance that the guy that has 2 games may not even play. If they're out of the rotation for whatever reason, someone comes back from injury, they're all of a sudden out of the rotation. Well, that's a wasted pick anyway. So you'd rather go for someone who has the opportunity to pop off. Maybe there's I can't think of any examples, but you just need to keep an eye out for those injury updates and just be mindful of the schedule. But that's not always the determining factor as well in getting a victory.
Yeah, I think for me, whenever someone asks me, sometimes the only thing that I advise is, depending on what time he asked or she asked me, because what I'm gonna tell them is, if it's urgent, I would suggest for you to wait until a couple of minutes before tip off,
Hmm.
because sometimes opportunity comes, and if you've already used that ad, then it's a missed opportunity.
Absolutely.
So treat it like a DFS. So shout out to our DFS players again. By the way, tomorrow we're gonna have a guest in our live Q&A. Shout out to Max Visaya, one of the pioneers of Yahoo DFS in the Philippines. So we're gonna have a sit down tomorrow. So yeah, I'm gonna treat that. Uh, uh, I'm gonna treat that situation that way. And then another thing would be, always go for upside and opportunity, because numbers game. It's not the time for us to be a little bit safe, especially if it's too close. If you wanted to win and it's too close, I'm gonna swing the fences. I'm just try to win it all. Maybe it's not for you, but maybe it's just me. But yeah, let me give you one example. So this one is a question from a good friend of mine. Shout out to KPTV. Dimak, who would you pick? Dante Exum or Tim Hardaway Jr.?
Mm. Yeah, good question. Well, you know what Hardaway gives you. So if you need those points and those threes, you go him. But I think Dante Exum's all-round game, defensive stats, some assists, some rebounds, I like that. He can be efficient as well. So my preference would be Exum. But if you're just really in need of those threes and those points, I think Hardaway has some fantastic value there.
Yeah. So we have the same answer. We've talked about it earlier, and I thought it was a good question because it was, tough. It's a tough call. Another question that I had is, someone is about to roster back J Dub, and he's picking between Jalen McDaniels and Kayson Wallace to drop. Now, who do you think he should drop? Is it Kayson Wallace or Jalen McDaniels?
Jalen McDaniels. Oh, there's some deep league stuff there, puppy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna revert back to you because you're our deep league expert there.
Yeah, because it's kind of like, for me, it's fun to be in and play deep leagues, because you're gonna know some staple names that not everyone knows, and their games isn't really not not mainstream. So it's fun. It's fun to the point that you're looking at the 13th or 12th man of the bench, and you're getting excited for players that came from G League. So those kind of stuff, So this is something that I actually learned or I appreciated from the Roto World guys. Because I remember, shout out to you. I know Roto World, it was unfortunate that not everyone was actually, they kind of like needed to shipped off some of our fantasy basketball analyst friends there. But I totally remember that there was a weekly show that is just all about deep leagues. And then I remember during that time, that's a couple of years ago, I don't play a lot of deep leagues, and I totally don't know what who they're talking about. And they're super excited. So I was curious, why are they excited to this? And when I check, oh, he's giving like 444. Why are they excited? He's playing like 15 minutes. Then that name pops up to the standard leagues, and his name is Alexei Pokusevsky,
Mm.
and he actually played a lot of give us a couple of weeks with good games, and then was injured. That's the first time. So that's my experience in deep leagues that really pulled me to play more deep leagues, because it kind of like extended and stretched and pushed me to learn more about other players that we don't usually talk about.
Mm.
So shout out to Roto World.
Mm. But I guess in that situation, just bear in mind that with Jalen McDaniels, he's been playing a little bit more recently, but just look at the injuries at the Raptors as well. Gary Trent Jr. has been out. Emmanuel Quickly's just returned, but he's been out as well. Um, be mindful that once these guys do return, perhaps McDaniels does lose a lot of value, a lot of minutes. So Cason Wallace is relatively consistent with his minutes. Not huge minutes, but it's consistency that sometimes in those deeper leagues that you need just to stay afloat or just be competitive. So I'm going to go Cason Wallace there to retain him.
Another angle there is, I think the Toronto Raptors has two more games. Let me check. The Toronto Raptors has two more games,
Two
while
more games.
OKC only has one.
Yeah.
Well, after Thursday, because
So two for the rest of the week. Okay.
yeah,
I'm still
yeah,
holding Cason Wallace there.
there you go. Yeah, love to talk about this stuff. Um, Last couple of things that we can discuss. In terms of the players as early as now that you think kind of like really specifically for playoffs
Hmm.
that help us out. Any particular player that help you out currently with your playoff teams?
Currently helping in terms of a stream. My team's pretty settled right now. I can't think of my streams at the moment because I'm not making all that many transactions right now because I have a really nice settled team. I'm occasionally streaming, but there's something I did want to post to you before I get to the answer. I've still got Isaiah Hartenstein. What are we doing there? I'm asking your advice here. And he's been such a great pickup for most of the season, but it doesn't look like he's ramping up those minutes anytime soon. It's just sitting around that 20-minute mark. What are we doing here?
Yeah, something that I noticed as well. And then it's more of like where we're used to what he can offer, to the point that it's hard to drop him because it's more of like, oh, maybe tomorrow or maybe this game is gonna
Right.
pop out with
Yeah.
like amazing stats. But for me, I would treat him without considering what he'd given us in the past months. So I'll treat him like a stream. If you think he's part of the players that an option to be dropped, I drop him. I won't I won't hesitate.
Mm.
But the only thing that I would ensure is that slot should be a streaming slot. It's more of like it's not about dropping Hardenstein. It's about making that slot a streaming slot. So at least psychologically, it's more of like that you're not really literally just not believing in him because it's a psycho thing. Hartenstein help us a lot, and now we're in the verge. It's almost there that you're about to drop him.
That's
Thing
it.
is, Josh Hart is really getting all of the rebounds. It's impacting both bigs, Precious and Hartenstein. They are coexisting, but it's not the stats that we needed, especially during playoffs. So I
Yep.
really understand the take there. So
And Josh
uh,
Hart went massive with OG and Anobi back, which is really interesting as well. And we have seen that there was a few sample points there that were able to get that, but I didn't expect that sort of explosion. That was massive from Josh Hart.
yeah, again, I was praising people who stuck with Josh Hart. It was a very bad first couple of months for Josh Hart. Uh, he was a silver lining. There was several injuries, and then it kind of like boosted his run up to the point that teams remembered he was a good player and he deserves to actually play. Then more injuries happened, and now he's actually playing the most minutes and part of Tibbs' must play players list, including the likes of Jimmy Butler and Derrick Rose in the past. Lul Deng, those type of players. For me, someone that actually helped me out is the Dominaton, the Andre Ayton. So I was expecting this to actually happen all season long. So I was kind of like, a little bit disappointed when I drafted him in third round. So I kind of like partnered. I was thinking, if whenever I get a chance to pick the first or second, at least top three, my mentality was let me roll the dice early. Let me search for someone that could actually, surprise everyone. I initially thought that that was a bad idea. I should have picked safe. I should have picked Kawhi or whatnot. And it was right. Definitely right. I still agree that I made a mistake, to be honest. Until of course during the playoffs, because Kawhi is injured and DeAndre Ayton is getting almost 20 rebounds. So I'm happy at least for this week and the upcoming weeks. So
Yeah.
shout out to Dominaton. You kind of like almost balancing the disappointment that I got from you, almost playing nothing for several months. Luckily for me, I have IL and IL plus there, so I kept Dominaton for the longest time, and
When are they shutting
hopefully
him down, puppy? When's he being shut down? When's Anthony Simons
after
being
my
shut down?
playoffs,
There you go. They heard. Hey,
they
you.
heard. Hopefully, he's
Yeah.
playing back to back. If he plays tomorrow, that's his first back to back game, and I'm gonna be super happy
Yeah.
because I need him to play that match more in the next 2 weeks. Then go ahead, play some duo prep to the rest of the season. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, going back for me, he hasn't set the world on fire, but he did yet. I was going to say yesterday, but it's today for us, our time. But Kelly Olynyk. So I know that heaps of people were dropping him. He was he was mediocre, but we knew that he was going to be a really nice pickup. But we just had to have a little bit more patience. But yeah, it shone through. Yes, there's some injuries at the Raptors, but yeah, he had a huge game. So he's been quite good. I think he's been top 50 in the last fortnight, even though he has had a couple of quieter games. But yeah, he's been helping my last two standing teams, which has been awesome.
Yeah, and I actually remembered that we talked about him during the trade deadline. So
Hmm.
imagine that, and now he's giving us some lunch. So shout out to Cole Olenek, the lunch lady. Let's go. Um, uh, who else? Well, of course, the players who actually went back from injuries, like the Bradley Beals. 'Cause, I know it's not the Bradley Beal in the past years, but still, a healthy body is better than eggs, right?
Hmm.
So I'm pretty sure the owners of Bradley Beal are actually happy for him really playing out. I'm
And I just wanted
checking.
to mention that again on both of my teams. I think both of my teams, yeah. Paul Reed. A lot of people go, "Geez, this guy's a bum. Let's drop him." He's been top 30 in the last 2 weeks. Top 30 in 9K. That's crazy good. And yeah, a lot of it's skewed because of his defensive stats. But like we said, defensive stats are quite difficult to get readily off the waiver wire. So top 30 for someone who people were readily dropping not that long ago, just because he was moved to the bench. He's starting one game, moved to the bench behind Mo Bamba. Like, you just hold the guy because he's going to provide the real nice value that you need. He's inconsistent, but he's not a perennial top 50 guy. That's just what happens with guys that are not superstars.
Yeah, and I just remembered, bro. This is a player that me and Dimac has been talking since the season started. Actually, before preseason.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna give another shout out to Prison Miles Bridges. From no one really liked him, no one wanted to pick him up. Me and Dimac, uh, quietly we've been chatting about him, and we kind of like swept everywhere we can actually add Miles Bridges. We did that.
Yeah, well, for everyone's information, I actually hit up Roy privately just to go, look, I've got this keeper league. Who am I keeping? And one of them was Miles Bridges, who didn't cost me much. He was a last round pick for me. And he's providing top 50 value for someone that cost me a last round pick, which, yeah, awesome in my league. That's why I'm doing pretty well in that one.
Yeah, shout out to Miles. Of course, this is pure fantasy.
Pure fantasy.
Pure fantasy. Yeah. So yeah, thank you. At least for that. Thank you, Prison Miles. So again, I guess that there's some question here. Can the Suns beat the Nuggets in the playoffs? I really think Denver is going to repeat.
Ooh, it would be exciting, but that's even if it is the Suns. Yeah, if they make it that far. They're not a super high seed at the moment, but yeah, finally they're getting the big three together. They're getting some cohesion in place. So perhaps they do have a shot to beat the Nuggets. Do you think the Nuggets are going all the way and repeating?
I think the Suns is going to beat the Nuggets one game, and then the Nuggets will win.
Right. Okay, so they'll take the West. Who takes the East?
Oh, I'm gonna take Boston. I mean,
yeah, you can't go past them.
You get. I'm. To be honest, it's unfair for Boston because I wanted us to actually have an episode talking about it because after the fantasy playoffs, that's the thing that we're gonna talk about for sure, right?
Yeah.
So when I tried to analyze and started analyzing things, I found myself finding reasons why won't Boston win the Eastern Conference. And to be honest, it's really hard. It's really hard to find. It's just a couple of things, but yeah, it should be Boston. If my concern actually is if Boston won't win the Eastern Conference this season with their lineup, it's gonna make a bad rep for Jason Tatum. That's just for me because he's gonna be on this hot seat. He's their main player. He's like the young superstar in the making. I'm also listing stuff like some conspiracy theory that the NBA will definitely want Boston to win because it's going to be the first U.S. or American player again dethroning a European player. So it's a good direction for U.S. and then upcoming U.S. team and all. So yeah, Boston. It's gonna be Boston and Denver.
Yeah, I think Boston have a great shot. And I think a big reason, it's not, you think of the superstars, Tatum and Brown, but man, KP, I think he just makes the world of difference to that team. They had some decent centers last couple of seasons, but KP's just, I think that he's the icing on that cake.
I think they're making KP not play just so people think that KP isn't the superstar that that we all thought. But come playoffs, you're gonna be surprised. They're gonna be a beast. I don't know. I think that hopefully I'm wrong. Hopefully I'm just just fond of watching a lot of investigative series. That's why I'm thinking of stuff like that. But they're really good. And we're not yet talking about the likes of Drew Holiday, the likes of Derek White, right?
Yep.
And then they have an underrated Xavier Tillman pickup who actually played a lot. Not a lot. He's contributed a lot in the series against the Lakers last season. Xavier Tillman actually was good in that playoff. So
yeah,
come on, Boston Celtics.
They're
really good.
Yeah, they've got the stars and they've got the depth. So yeah, I don't think anyone's going to beat them in the East.
Yeah. If there's someone in the Ace who could beat the Boston Celtics, who's your pick?
Bucks. I think I picked the Bucks at the start of the season,
Yeah.
just thinking the offensive firepower is just going to override everything that they could throw out from Boston. But it could be the Bucks with Giannis just stepping up. But yeah, I just don't think they're at the peak of their power. So I'd still say Boston.
I want to say the Bucks, but I'm gonna shift the direction and I'm gonna go with Tibbs here. I'm gonna go with New York with Randall back with a healthy New York team to grind it out with the Boston Celtics because um unfortunately to my Miami friends it's hard to root for Miami this season. I don't know why. Maybe because they didn't do a lot of things to really improve their team, and then I know they're just really underwhelming. Milwaukee, I love Milwaukee. I think it's about also the superstars who's gonna step up during the playoffs. But after Giannis and Dame, it's I mean if you check out how deep Boston is and you compare it to the Milwaukee Bucks,
Yeah.
super tough.
Yeah.
So I just thought that hey, why not pick the dark horse here. Why not the Tibbs New York Knicks? They almost went all in. I think they really did uh, what they can do to make and come up with the best team that they can for the season.
Yeah.
So let's put that into this.
Who,
And
who, who starts at center for the Knicks then? Mitch
get
Robinson's back, possibly come
Mitch
playoff time.
Robinson.
Yeah.
I think and Mitch Robinson played well against the Cleveland Cavaliers last season. He made Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen his baby. He fathered those two big. So maybe he can do that to Kristaps Porzingis, Tito Al Horford, and the other bigs. But let's see. It's not just players because it's also coach versus coach, strategy versus strategy, and the earlier our energy went a little bit down, and when we talk about playoffs, it went up. So we're super excited to talk about playoffs very, very soon. But for now, let's stick with fantasy. Couple of weeks more. But after that, me, DMAC, hopefully Arik, shout out to Arik, and then Kayla as well. We're gonna talk real NBA after that. And shout out to Playback. So already inviting you guys because Playback has an ability to actually stream actual games. So watch out for me and DMAC probably commentating live games during playoffs. So it's gonna be fun. That ask Kingy. I think we have had a thread that Kingy was wondering
Yeah.
about a possibility to, if ever, a commentator talking more on the fantasy side in a live game. So let's try that.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay. So anything else, DMAC, before you rest? Because I know you have more work to do
More
after
work
doing
to do.
more work.
Yeah, I just keep an eye out. Follow me at NBA Fantasy Bible. Still have our weekly show with Kayla Fonte, Between Two Hoops. So give us a like on YouTube. Follow us, like I said, on Twitter as well. And yeah, just keep an eye out for our updates. Like we said, there's a lot of things to look out for just so that you can get that W, continue on in your playoff journey, and hopefully get the championship come end of season.
There you go. And then again, congratulations to DMAC and Kayla. They've been busy going around. They've been recognized. These two resources, these two friends of mine are really, for me, the future of fantasy basketball. And soon you'll definitely see them more in the mainstream. And I really love, knowing them because I learn and I have fun talking with them in their show and our show as well. So shout out to both of you. And then for me, tomorrow we're gonna have a live Q&A. This time here in Playback, we usually do it via StreamYard, but let's do it here in Playback. And we're gonna invite again Max Bisaya for Hall of Fame DFS Yahoo, the number one Yahoo DFS league in the Philippines. So we're gonna discuss some innovation. So we've created a stat tracker for DFS. So I know you joined several tournaments the same time playing DFS, and you're logging into another tournament, logging into another tournament, logging out and all. So they've created actually a means for you to actually manage that in one sitting. So watch out for the what it goes, the demonstration that we'll do tomorrow. And of course, it's a live Q&A. So almost like this, we're gonna discuss on ourselves, but also include you guys. And if you have any questions or point of discussions, we're gonna do that. Shout out again for the DFS players there, because after fantasy playoffs, probably we're gonna shift to DFS and real NBA talks, because season season long NBA fantasy is done, but still we aren't. So we're gonna talk about that more very very soon. So shout out again to DMAC. Shout out to you guys. Thank you for joining us. This is your NBA Fantasy Papi, and you've watched the Fantasy Basketball PH live here at Playback. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Roy.